All right, we're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. This is Kennedale City Council special called meeting, and this is a special meeting. Today is May 1st, 2025. It is 6 p.m. We are at City Council Chambers, 405 Municipal Drive, Kennedale, Texas, 76060. Madam Secretary, can I get a roll call?
Yes, sir. Place 1 Glover.
Present.
Place 2 Kobeck.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Michaels.
Here.
Place 4 Gary. Place 5 Navarez.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. At this time, we're going to do our invocation and pledges of allegiance to the U.S. and Texas flags. And I'm going to ask Councilman Navarez to lead us in our invocation, Councilman Michaels to lead us in our pledges. If you please stand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please pray with me. Father God, we are blessed to have this time with each other, Lord. We ask that you give us wisdom in our leadership. We ask that you give us wisdom in our words. We ask that you continue to bless our economy and our local businesses. And we ask that you get rid of all these allergens. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Thank you. So at this time, we're going to hop around a little bit. We've got some interviewees here for the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I'm going to ask for a motion if we can go into executive session pursuant to Section 551.074, personnel matters, certain deliberations about officers and employees of the governmental body to be held in executive session. Can I get a motion?
Mayor, a question or clarity. Is this regarding just the interviews for the Planning and Zoning Commission unexpired terms
Yes,
and nothing else?
correct.
Okay, in that case, I will make a motion that we move into executive session pursuant to Section 551.074 to discuss the Planning and Zoning Commission unexpired term interviews.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? And for the record, all opposed with a like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously, and we're going to go into executive session at 6:02 p.m. All right, we're going to go ahead and reconvene back into regular session. Time is 7:12 PM. And coming out of executive session, do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to appoint Jeff Madrid to P&Z Place 3 for the remainder of this term.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? And for the record, all opposed with the like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously. All right, so at this, we are going to move to our public comment. Madam Secretary?
Mr. Philip Wallace?
How's it going? How's it going, Jeff? So, I've tried to hide for 5 months. I've had a lot of things going on. And this got me out today, not politics, but I do want to say that, Brad, you've been around a long time. You've known Andrew a long time. He's not new to you. He's not new to this town. He's a staple in this town. This town wouldn't be this town without Andrew. What you said about, I'm not even going to repeat it because I don't know who's seen it, but you know, and you know what you ought to do is go ahead and get out of here over it. That was too far in this world that we live in today, and you know it. That's why I'm here. I don't, rules aren't law, so excuse me. I don't give a shit about the Kennedale politics anymore, but what you said drug me out. I didn't want my friends to see me like this. I didn't want to be out this way. Been hiding for Jeff knows. And you drug me out. What I'm more disappointed in is all the griping I see on Facebook in an empty room here. That's why all this stuff gets to happen. That's why stuff gets to slide by. That's why water bills go up 300% because of empty rooms. So all the griping on Facebook is pointless. And what you said in an email was crazy. Crazy, and you know it was. I'm responsible for Andrew having the baddest scooter around right now. And so are a bunch of members of this town that help pay for it, to make sure he's got a scooter, keeps up with the trash truck. You should be ashamed. And you should at least admit you're ashamed.
Address the council.
What?
Address the council as one.
Oh, got you. The mayor should be ashamed. And the mayor should know that as an educator and somebody who's worked in his field, that what he said is, I'd be fired from wherever I was, and I'd probably just quit. I probably wouldn't show up, and I wouldn't have been here tonight. That would have been more admirable. That's it.
Thank you.
Mr. Bryant Griffith?
I'm Brian Griffith, I live at 912 Greenfield Court, Kennedale, Texas 76060. Good evening, citizens of Kennedale, council, mayor. I think it's about time that we speak plainly about the dangerous precedent that's being set by members of this elected body and their ongoing pattern of conduct. And obviously, as we just heard, there's a lot of people who are upset about it. The recently exposed email is not an isolated incident. It reflects a consistent abuse of power and a flagrant disregard for the rights of Kennedale residents. In that email, the mayor refers to concerned citizens as threats. He uses extremely inappropriate and degrading language while making reference to their family members' challenges and conditions, and then conspires to spread lies and misinformation about the council and members of this community through political agitators like TGAA and their media cronies, instead of addressing concerns through lawful, transparent channels. This is not how leadership behaves. This is how political machines operate. when they're more concerned with power and control than accountability. The same representative has repeatedly infringed upon the rights of citizens like Sarah Cotton and the small business owners behind Trash Magic Alchemy. Like many others, including myself, Ms. Cotton has been publicly targeted, intimidated, and misrepresented for voicing her concerns about city leadership. So let me be clear. Harassment, suppression of speech, leveraging law enforcement, or colluding with the media to silence dissent are not just unethical, they're unconstitutional. When elected officials use their office to retaliate against private citizens for speaking out, they violate the oath they took to defend our Constitution. And when city leadership encourages this kind of behavior, either by direct action or by silence, the city becomes complicit. So I urge this council to take these matters seriously. Because if we continue down this road, the cost won't just be public trust. It'll be legal liability, and history will not look kindly on those who stood by. Thank you.
I have no others at this time, but I do have some that are signed up before item 2.
All right. So at that, let us move into our regular session, and first item up.
I asked to speak, I vote up. I've lived here for 33 years. May I address the council, and I'll submit one. It's a very important matter, line to law enforcement.
Yes, you may, but please, if you don't mind, can you fill it out first, just so we can?
Disappeared.
Go ahead. Sir, you can go ahead and speak first, and then if you just don't mind filling it out.
I'm blessed to. I'd fill it out for you. My name is Eric Elam. I live at, I'll pause before you get your timer going. Eric Elam, I live in Kennedale, Texas. I'll leave my address out. I want to speak in regards to State Law Penal Code 37.08. What that is, lying to law enforcement in the state of Texas. That's a state law that basically dictates to every citizen or every individual that comes into the territory of Texas. You can't lie to law enforcement. I just obtained today, very late, I don't have time to put it all together, but I will submit it to the city council, city manager, and the mayor. A city council member that's invited me over to his home. I use Life 360 on my cell phone. It's a tracking system, also Google Maps. It shows minute by minute my location. My phone calls are also, it has a call log with time. You put these two beside each other, it will mirror a timeline, and that use it all the time in police investigations. It will show a timeline of my phone call and where my location was. Now, I just got the police video today. You got a council member that lied to 2 Kennedale police officers, and it's on video. He said I came to his door, beating on his door, unannounced, uninvited, and everything else. The problem is he filed a trespass notice on me after I visited him. That's disgusting and it's nasty. It's just very nasty. And that shows bad character of any individual to do that to anybody. It's unbecoming of a council member to do that. The thing is, I'm not going to sit back and let this dead dog lie, because that's just very unethical. We can dislike each other, not the color of the hair, the shape of our bodies, whatever, it doesn't matter. But when you lie to law enforcement and you serve on a city council, that's not very good representation. It's very unethical and immoral. So with all that said, I'll get this stuff to you at a later date with all the timelines laid out with the videos, not in my words, in his own words, that I was unannounced. It was also brought up, it's his word against mine, whether we was arguing or not. But I've got a text which I sent to some council members and another member that shows a text from this individual 3 days later, says, very good conversation, whichever would like to talk to you again, everything else. Okay, if that's the case, he sends me a text 3 days later thanking me for our meeting that was really good and cordial and everything. Then 4 hours after that text, I get 2 police officers at my house giving me a trespass notice because I come over there and I was argumentative and trying to start trouble. We're in his house for 45 minutes talking, walk out on the front porch, talk for 15 minutes, we shake hands, and I leave. That's fine. It's his word against mine. But it's his word against the police video stating that I came to his house unannounced. When you compare it to the timelines in Life 360, that's the wonderful thing about technology. You're going to have facts after this. Because like I said, I just got it today.
Can you finish your thought?
All right, God bless. Thank you.
If I can just comment on that, again, if it's a criminal violation, this council does not receive criminal complaints. Criminal complaints need to go to the police department or other investigative bodies.
Violation of the city charter, unbecoming of a council.
All right, moving on. At this time, we're going to go into regular session, discuss and take action on a proposal for interior design services for the YMCA Kennedale location as approved by the Kennedale EDC.
Thank you, Mayor. I brought this to you, our last Economic Development Corp meeting. I had brought this to their attention as well. This is a contract for us to partner with GHC to do a survey or not a survey, now I'm going blank, for them to come in and give us recommendations on how to move forward on remodeling the old Dollar General. Currently, there's several code violations that we need to make sure we address and we get those up to code. I'm asking this company to be able to come in and do exactly that. One, to give us what needs to take place, how to move forward and make the building secure, and also be able to help us design what the YMCA would like to come in and partner with us with the facility.
Open the floor for discussion.
Just to clarify, the funds coming from EDC and not the city, correct?
That's correct. It's EDC.
And to add more clarification, it's only before council because it exceeds the dollar amount limit that you can authorize at 25,000, is that right?
That's
So it's only here because it's a dollar amount value, not because the funds aren't there, you're asking for extra money.
That's
Am I
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And this is strictly for the design, basically, and the list of what needs to be done.
Yes, it's given us our options of how we can move forward to make sure it's a sound building ultimately. It includes like the air conditioning, the electrical, the plumbing. Obviously probably everyone in the room has been to our Dollar General there. So it does need attention. We don't want to go out and just try to get a construction company to come in and attempt to correct something that we don't know where we're at. It needs attention detailed.
Other questions, discussion, items? Then do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the proposal for interior design services for the YMCA Kennedale location as approved by the Kennedale EDC.
Do we have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second.
All in favor? And for the record, all opposed with a like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, at this, we are going to move to item 2, discuss and take action if necessary regarding a complaint filed on members of the Kennedale City Council. Madam Secretary.
Yes, we did have 2 that signed up to speak. The first one is James Connor.
Hello, esteemed council and other members that are here. I'm not going to take very much time, but as Mr. Wallace already alluded to, there was an email that was leaked. Now, many people know me for good reason. Other people don't know me. What was in that email? It was disgusting. Absolutely repulsive. And I urge the City Council to investigate to the fullest extent of the law that is allowed through our charter what was said in that email. I'm not making excuses for anybody, but I'm going to say this once. All of you know me. You all know I have a disability too. I have a moderate case of multiple sclerosis. Does that mean that I have a few screws loose too? Am I a nut job? No, I'm not. And for one of you to sit there with a smug look on their face and say that, wow, you got some balls. Excuse my French. That boy over there, if you have a problem with someone's parent, you go to them. You don't involve their family, period. It disgusts me to even sit there and look at that email or even look at the person. So I'm really trying hard not to. Sorry, Ken, I'm staring right at you, but it's not. But I'm focused on you right now. I'm not a nut job. I don't have a few screws loose. I have a disability. And now the entire city knows that. It's a private matter, and I shouldn't have to be standing up here saying that. But to protect that boy, I will, even though everyone here already knows that me and his mother don't get along that well. But this isn't about that. I put my differences aside because you don't involve someone's family. Yeah, keep staring at that time. I'm done.
Thank you.
Mr. Bryant Griffith?
Turned it off. Got me now. All right. Good evening again, council, mayor, citizens. For those that don't know, I am the one that filed the complaint, and I'm here to speak to that in addition to some of the information that has been recently released and made available to the public. I want to speak not only as a concerned resident, but also someone who values the integrity of the city's governance and its future economic vitality. So Councilman Chris Gary potentially violated both state law and our city charter when he failed to recuse himself from a zoning decision involving property that directly abuts his own. Instead of doing the legally required action of disclosing his conflict and stepping aside, he merely abstained. That abstention changed the voting threshold, turning what should have been an approval into a denial, ultimately impacting the outcome of the zoning request. Even though the recommendations that came both from staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission were denied their rightful request, essentially asserting that there was no issue with the development. So this action directly and negatively impacts the entire community, as the proposed development would have brought economic growth and additional tax revenues to our community. This is more than a technical error. It is a clear abuse of position, and it has real-world consequences. One of the most damaging messages a city can send to investors, developers, and regional partners is that we don't play by the rules. When decisions are made or derailed by personal interests instead of policy, we compromise our credibility, our growth, and our future. Why would any developer take a chance on Kennedale if legal, well-prepared requests are subject to the whim of conflicts and backroom maneuvering? Why would any business owner trust our zoning process when one council member's silence can override the voice of planning professionals and the law itself. The long-term impact is economic stagnation. We jeopardize development, lose opportunities, and discourage future investment. We become a city known not for progress, but for politics. Texas law under Local Government Code, Chapter 171, is unambiguous. Disclose the conflict, file the affidavit, and recuse. Our own charter, Section 3.10, demands the same. Councilman Gary did neither. His failure has not only harmed the community, it has sent a chilling message to the entire business community. That must be addressed publicly, transparently, and immediately. Because if we don't enforce accountability now, then when? And if not here, then where? Thank you.
Time's up. Thank you.
I have no others this time.
All right. So the city council received a complaint earlier this week, and Mr. City Manager, I'm going to turn it over to you right now. Do you want to? Do you want to go?
I recommend that we go into executive session in regards to speak with the city attorney on the matter
Fair enough. Do we have a motion?
or recommendation.
Do we have a motion to go into executive session? All right. Nobody wants to go into executive session. So I guess I'll start it off here and probably weigh in with the city attorney here at some point. So in regards to the complaint, just for the record, I'm going to enter these into the record. Is that okay?
No, you make them part of the record.
Okay, I'll make them part of the record. I have received an ethics complaint that was filed against me March 14th, 2014, an ethics complaint that was filed against me August 20th, 2014, and an ethics complaint that was filed against me April 16th, 2015, to the Texas Ethics Commission. I've spoken with them. They're public record, have permission to release them, and all three of them have been dismissed. And a good portion of that information that was in the most recent complaint is on this. And be that as it may, there's a couple of other items, if I may ask you, that that were also on this complaint that were not on the previous three that have already been filed and dismissed. Mr. City Manager, if I may ask you this. So one of the parts of this under abuse of power, this was covered on the complaint March 14th, 2024. And it also came back again on the complaint that the council received. And it's a quote that I said, allegedly said it would be a shame if he were audited by the IRS if he doesn't back off. Now, if I recall back to December of 2023, and I remember that conversation with you, I believe it was kind of you that maybe made the suggestion because I didn't have all the facts, didn't want to speak on all this. And you maybe said, well, do you have business out of town? You could be gone. So I did. And, ultimately went out, we saw coming back, so we came back early. And so I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that I said something to the effect of, given my position at the time with the federal government, that the more you keep dragging me in here, I don't want to have to answer to the federal government on this because I'm trying to stay out of something that had the hallmarks of a questionable transaction. And I believe I said something to the effect of, I don't want to have to be involved because the more I get drug into this, the more likely that it's going to come back on me. And I said, I don't really want to start having to answer questions. And I said, and I'm sure probably the city doesn't. I'm sure this individual probably doesn't either. Is that an accurate statement?
It was. Also, I referred you to the city attorney for further evaluation of the situation. At that time, I believe you did contact city attorney for guidance.
All right, thank you, sir. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up, and one of the other things was attempted to violate the city charter by hiring a former city council member, Austin Dagenhart, as a full-time consultant. Dagenhart is a known friend of Horton's who had played a significant role in Horton's mayoral campaign. Horton again demonstrates a blatant act of disregard for the charter and impropriety regarding the charter's clear prohibition against hiring former council members within 2 years of their service. Here again, this has the appearance of coercion, as it would require the city manager to execute the action, and it is no secret that the mayor wishes to get rid of him. So, as I recall, this was the meeting that we had with Mr. Dagenhart was roughly a year ago. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
And so, as I recall, he reached out and wanted to have lunch, and I asked you to lunch. Is that accurate, or did I coerce you to lunch, or?
No, we went to lunch.
Okay, and so during that conversation, it came up, during that meeting, it came up that, potentially hiring him as a full-time consultant after his 2 years were up or something, or even if there was something else he could do with, according to the charter, what have you. Is that accurate?
Yes, we had a discussion in reference how Austin Dagenhart could play a role in the city to move the city forward. The conversation came, one, to check with the city council as a whole. I did come back, I did talk to at least one city council that made the reference that he cannot be involved in the city within 2 years of his service.
Absolutely, and I believe you and I also discussed that?
Correct,
And did I,
at the table.
right, and I believe I said in front of him, in front of you, that I don't want to do anything ethical, and asked if, would you like to take it back to the council and see?
Correct.
And was that the end of it?
Yeah, dealing with me, yes.
All right, very good. Just wanted to clarify those points. Again, this is, most of this has been investigated, what have you, 3 times already, and I'm going to defer to the city attorney to wait, okay, I don't mind having another investigation, why not? I've already had 3, or apparently 4, apparently there was 1, let's do another one. Well, sure. What's your recommendation for how to handle this?
Well, anything involving criminal matters, of course, is something that has to be referred to the criminal district attorney's office. So violations of the Open Meetings Act, violations of the Texas Retention Law, violations of the Public Information Act, all of those have potential criminal penalties associated with them. And those items should be referred to the criminal district attorney in Tarrant County to investigate and make a determination. And again, under the charter talks about being convicted. So obviously we can't get to a conviction until somebody's gone forth and sworn a complaint, it's been investigated, and then a trial and a proceeding. So we're premature on any of that in terms of taking action. Now, the charter also allows for investigations. They're discretionary. The word is may. So the council can choose to investigate pretty much whatever it wants to within reason, within, constitutional limits and whatnot. But I mean, if the council wanted to investigate this particular action, I would suggest that they not investigate anything that alleges a criminal action, because those are not your purview. That's not the council's purview. Those should be referred to prosecution. The issues regarding campaign financials, falsification, those things belong in the Texas Ethics Commission, and those things should be referred to there. Again, an individual should file a complaint, relatively easy to do if they want those things to be investigated. I haven't actually seen your commission opinions that you have, but if those things have already resolved these issues, then I don't think the commission would be inclined to review them again. So, I mean, that matter's resolved if those have been submitted. The city charter matters, again, you have the discretionary power to investigate those kinds of things. So if the council by majority vote wanted to do that, then that would be the council's prerogative. The city manager and I have discussed this, and I think probably if you wanted to go that route, you should probably consider engaging some outside third party and allow them to do an investigation and give them whatever authority they need to do that investigation, come back with some kind of written report, make a report to the full council.
Sure. Okay. Well, and then, I guess the accusation says crimes of moral turpitude in here as well. I mean, how can we refer that to the DA or the Attorney General? Because apparently I've committed a lot of crimes here and.
Well, if I can jump in on that, again, the reference in the charter is convicted of a felony or any offense involving moral turpitude. So we don't really get to the moral turpitude definition until someone files a complaint and then there's a trial and a conviction. So if that happens, then that's an automatic forfeiture of office under the charter.
Fair enough. I'll open the floor for discussion.
City Manager, I also received a complaint that was forwarded to the Texas Ethics Commission in August of 2024. Looking at the timeline, 5 days after the complaint was received by the Texas Ethics Commission, it was dismissed. I'd like to enter that into the record as well. Can I just pass this down? Thank you.
Just for the record, let me double check these. Sometimes there are notices, there are file numbers that are associated with these, so the Ethics Commission issues hundreds of opinions and probably multiple on any given day. So I'm just going to go ahead and read this one for you. This one says notice of dismissal SC-32408458. And I think the city secretary can just mark this and put it as part of the record of tonight's meeting. And I would just suggest for clarification, Mayor, on the three that you had mentioned earlier, if you could just go ahead and read into the record those identifying numbers, that way we can avoid confusion.
Okay, I can do that now. Notice of dismissal SC-32403-202. Notice of dismissal SC-32408-451. Notice of non-compliant complaint SC-32504-130.
And since we're adding those, there's one more here. I'll go ahead and read it in. It's notice of dismissal dated August 20th, 324-08452. We can enter that one into the record too.
Certainly.
And to clarify, not to jump, but to clarify, this is pertaining, I believe this is pertaining, Mr. Bryant, Mr. Griffith, to your campaign practices number 2, option 1, as far as the same things that you suggest in complaint here were addressed by the Texas Ethics Commission and ruled back in August of 2024. So if there's some additional information you would like to provide to the Ethics Commission, I encourage you to do that and have them investigate it, and we can go from there. Thank you.
Additionally, I would add that all this goes back to July of 2023, so any investigation, I think, also should include any former current elected officials that were involved at that time.
I have a question for the city attorney. Is it up to the council to determine if ethical misconduct has occurred, or does that have to be referred out?
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear all of that.
Is it up to this council to determine if ethical misconduct has occurred, or does that have to be referred out to another body to be investigated?
This council does not, or this city does not have an ethics ordinance. So there's not a foundational document that you could refer to. If you want to investigate something that you believe is an ethical violation, you can investigate that under 3.07 of the charter.
Okay, I just have 2 more questions if you don't mind. Regarding the violations of the Texas Public Information Act, also known as TPIA, is that a criminal investigation, or would that also be referred out to another private party to render a report or an assessment.
Violations of that act have criminal penalties associated with them, so that would need to be referred to the criminal district attorney's office.
Okay. And then regarding violations of TOMA, Texas Opens Meeting Act, is that the same, or is that also a civil matter?
If there are allegations of criminal violations of the Texas Open Meetings Act, again, those criminal violations need to be referred to the criminal authorities so that they can conduct the appropriate investigations. Now, I will just add this, and I need to be careful as I say this. The council has broad discretion to ask any investigator to look into other matters if they want to. But if they come to a conclusion that something needs to be filed, it will have to be a citizen filing a complaint alleging a violation of those two acts. So if you were to engage an investigator to look into this, they won't be able to render you an opinion on whether or not a criminal violation occurred. That's really outside their purview. I mean, they can look into trying to make a factual determination and give you a written report as to what they think the facts are and lay that out for you. But the actual evaluation of whether that constitutes a criminal complaint will be up to the authorities that evaluate criminal matters.
Okay, so we have a complaint that alleges the violations have occurred. Next steps are, can you just tell us what our guidance on what our next steps can be?
I'm going to need a little bit, I mean, I've looked at the complaint, and generally there are open-ended allegations of criminal misconduct, and those allegations I would recommend be referred, or should be referred, by the complaining party to the DA's office. And they should then be dealt with by that office. I don't know this for a fact, and I need to be real careful about saying things I really don't know for a fact, but I believe these matters have already been referred to the DA's office, and the DA's office refused to take them. So.
That is correct on some of the violations that are in the complaint. Last year, I believe it was in December, we did an investigation in our executive session, gave advice for me or direction to go to the Tarrant County District Attorney's Office Elections Integrity Unit. I presented some of the complaints to the ADA at that time. At the time, they made a determination there was not enough evidence to move forward with the case.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Jeff.
here's where I'm struggling, I guess. I mean, obviously with the recent email out, there's a lot of bias or perceived bias. And obviously, even though we can empower ourselves to investigate ourselves, I think that comes as a double-edged sword. And how we've treated it in the past, especially in my last 2 years at least, is referring it to a third party. It sounds like you guys are kind of on the same page in that. What's in the interest of transparency, let's just hire a third party, put everything, even the ones I'm getting 30 minutes before this meeting and yesterday and the day before, just put it all out there and just get a clarification, and then let the city or private citizens do what they need to do with it. But as far as what we need to do for ourselves, I don't think we should investigate each other. I think this is a hot item here in this city, and it'll just tear us apart. So my suggestion was just hire a third party, just like we did before, and let's get clarification. And then I know we've talked about doing ethics ordinance before. I know that's sort of in the process. And of course, I think this is a good example of why we should have something like that on our books. But for now, for what's going on here, because I don't know what y'all are referencing on the record, I have no idea if this checks certain items. I have no point of reference. And who am I, right? The perception is I'm attacking you guys or after you guys. So in the interest of transparency, just get a third party, let's just clear it up once and for all, and put this to bed for once and for all. That's just my suggestion.
Then, anybody else have anything?
City Manager Hall, I do have a question. And bear with me, okay? So we hire a third party, and I may have more than one question. Such as whom or what?
My preference or recommendation will have an outside law firm that specializes in local government, that understands the laws that are governed by us. That's my recommendation. And if I can speak a little bit more on that, I've been in this position for 3 years, and I think it needs to be cleared up. Allegations continue year after year after year, and we need to clarify everything, what our duties are, what are we doing, how are we going to do it, and what is ethics. And we need to define that. And I think this outside entity that can come in and help us define what is right or wrong. And I believe the organization as a whole needs to understand that and put limitations to what we do.
Okay, along that same line, then I would also like to say for the record that if that is what occurred, there would need to be some care taken that everyone being investigated and everyone involved, including complainants, whoever that law firm was, there would need to be some care taken that no one involved had any prior interaction with that law firm. And you and I have spoken about this recently. And I think we both expressed a concern about that. And I would think that that would need to be documented, that every individual person involved in the entire thing, complainants, people being investigated, and it needs to be the entire council that is investigated
Absolutely.
to ensure that, but we need to make sure that there is, that people actually sign on paper, I've never had any contact with this law firm, so that there is no, I mean, if we're trying to be ethical and we're trying to be transparent, we need to make sure that there's not something that comes back that, oh, this individual or that individual knew so-and-so or interacted with so-and-so in the past.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
I have one other question, and I'm not trying to create a problem, but the question's very simple. If the city, and all of us are representatives of the city, if the city hires a law firm, who's paying for that?
Will be the city of Kennedale.
Then what steps do we need to take? Because this is not the first time all this has come up. This is not the first council that has faced allegations of any sort. With the city hiring and the city paying for it, how do we prevent that from just continuing the problem, continuing the narrative?
I think the law firm we ultimately choose, we need to put guidelines exactly how do we address this exact problem in the future. As we talked, last council is putting a policy together that can regulate us. We talked about that. As you know, I submitted one to you earlier this week. We need to put these policies or ordinances in place. We currently are members of the TML. We have lawyers or attorneys that can assist us with any other type of litigation against us, and we do that annually. Obviously, Carvin is a part of that as well. He understands what's going on, and I do recommend for that. Nothing against Toast or Mr. Atkins by any stretch of the imagination. We are all part of this council. Both of us are appointed. I think it needs to be an outside entity. I believe TML will be able to be open and honest and be able to present to us what can help us currently and what our future looks like as well by policy or recommendations through Mr. Atkins and that concept. But I think it's something we have to address. I believe our citizens are asking for it. I think they're demanding it from us. If it's right or wrong, to me, there's not a definition. We need to define what our citizens are asking of us. And if we don't, to your point, we're going to face this again next year. And I think we need to answer it. And I think this is the right council to be able to stand up and say, we hear you and we're going to do what's right. And I do believe that's what's right, personally.
All right, any other?
Just a quick question for Carmen, but before that, I'm going to echo Ms. Kobeck's query about having all of us investigate. I think that should be open, all of us, because all of us are involved in some way in all these complaints. Here's a mention or a reference. So I'm very open to that. But for Carvin 307, if we do utilize that as a council, that's more specific for the council, to the power of giving us investigation power, giving us, what's the word I'm looking for? It's losing me, but does that power relate to if we hire a third party? Because that more references to us, correct?
The way I envision it happening is
Subpoena power, that was the word I was looking for. Thank you.
you do have that power. The power would be a delegation of the power of the council. The investigator would be exercising, I mean, they got me going that way, exercising the power of the council under the charter to issue subpoenas basically in your name.
Thank you.
Other questions, other discussion?
So are we as a council going to set the purview or the box for that investigation? I think numerous people have talked about, like Mr. Navarro said, about I'm good with everybody who was involved in any of these complaints. This complaint from Mr. Griffith is just one of 7 or 8 in the last 18 months. So are we going to investigate just this 4 or 5 pages? Are we going to investigate stuff back to the issues between Mr. Griffith and Mayor Horton back in 2023? Are we going to investigate if a new issue that Mr. Elam's going to bring to our attention here pretty soon? Do we put that in there? Do we just go ahead and just anything and everything? Are we going to put a certain box on this?
So the complaint from Mr. Griffith references moral,
Turpitude or something?
sorry, I want to make sure I get it right. Moral turpitude. You look at the email that came out this week, that has to be in the complaint. That gets investigated.
Okay.
There's no way that doesn't get investigated at this point, in my opinion.
And just a point, I just got a complaint from Mr. Elam, which you guys have heard that as well. Everybody who's asked, at least for me in recent history, I think it's kind of like the whole situation that we're talking about right now. For me, if you want to go back, to 2023, I think that should be up to the attorney's office or whomever we hire.
Part of this is 2023.
Yeah, and I agree.
So,
I agree with you.
yeah.
And what about one of the candidates running for office? There, I believe, had a website that was forged or fraudulent. Someone didn't claim it, and somebody posed and sent it to somebody else. As I understand it, that may be an issue. Is that going to be looked at as well?
Well, again, the council has very, very broad discretion under the charter to delegate an investigative authority. So you guys can go about this several different ways. If you want to make a motion tonight to direct the city manager to reach out to somebody to conduct an investigation and bring that person back to you for an interview, to set the parameters of the investigation, that's one way to do it. If one of you want to craft a motion tonight to spell out specifically what you want investigated, that's another option that you can do. And if it passes by majority vote, that would be the charge that's given to the investigator to investigate. So this body is going to have to exercise your discretion on how and what you want investigated.
Mr. Mayor, maybe you can clarify that statement. I don't understand how that has to do with investigating the council, somebody's website that's running for election, I guess. I'm just a little confused by that. Is there a complaint about us in a website?
It's my understanding.
May I speak? I think it's an open door, and I say that conservatively. There's a lot of influence in this city, and obviously, we're not going to be able to address every possible complaint. That's not the intent. The intent is to set guidelines for us to follow. Now, this is just my opinion. We don't have a definition. We need a definition. That's just my interpretation of complaints over the last 3 years. What is ethical? What is moral turpitude? What is that? What is that? How is that defined? We need to define it. I don't need to be the one to go out and seek that investigator. If anybody needs to do it, our city attorney needs to do that I'm aware of at this point. I don't think Carvin's involved in any complaints. My name has been brought up in all this as well. I do not feel comfortable asking an investigator to come in and investigate me. I don't want that. I've had plenty of investigations. I understand the process of it, so I'd rather keep my hands out of it. And again, I just say TML is because we contract with TML. They have a house full of attorneys that deal with this on a daily basis. Probably 99% of Texas contract with TML for this exact reason. That's just my recommendation. I prefer not to be involved in it. If they want to ask me questions, I'd rather be able to speak my mind to the investigator and say what my role is.
Fair enough. So does the council want to make a motion to task the city manager with however you want to work it?
Well, I think he was saying he'd rather us task Carvin
Fair enough.
to hire an independent investigating body, whether that's the TML, whether that's the Texas Rangers, whether that's an independent firm that's going to cost the city money. So I think that's where we're at. I think we're all in agreement that something needs to be done. Let's go ahead and do it. We'll have them come in. I would assume give us, like you said, the parameters of the investigation, what they'll do, what they want, what we want them to do, what we don't want them to do. And we'll start the process and see where it goes over the next few months.
All right. Any other? Sorry.
Just to clarify for you, Carvin, I just want to make sure we get the motion right. We're not going to task you with 307. We're going to task you to go find somebody, bring it back to us so we can task them with 3.07, correct? Would that be fair?
Yeah. Yes, sir. That's the way I'm interpreting it right now. Just as a comment, now TML is an organization, so they have a list of attorneys that are available. And so I know a lot of them, and I can contact some of those law firms, and that's how I would approach doing it. I will reach out to a firm that does not have any connection with our city and would be willing to do it. The next step then, of course, will be this council will need to sit down and help develop what you want investigated, and you're going to need to ask them what it's going to cost, because attorneys will charge you to do this investigation. And so we'll need to develop a budget. We'll need to develop parameters. And I would suggest that would be done in executive session, consultation with the attorney, where at a future meeting, this council will give, and actually you may choose to reject whoever I recommend to you. I may have to do it more than once, but I will try and circulate some good names, some reputable law firms around the community that we can use and go from there. I mean, I think that's the next step.
And in the interim, this complainant who brought the complaint and anyone else who feels that there have been criminal acts, it's your recommendation, Mr. Hull, that they should take that to a law enforcement authority, correct?
I recommend the person to do what they believe is right. For us, we're looking after what our citizens are referring to us, and we're going to look into our own actions. But if they have something outside of that, I encourage them to do what they believe is right.
And I'll correct what I said. It wasn't your recommendation. It was that if that's what they feel occurred and they feel that it should be pursued, it should go through a law enforcement entity.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize for
no,
saying that wrong.
Any other questions, discussion? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we task the city attorney with finding us a law firm who could investigate this.
Do we have a second?
I will second, Mr. Mayor.
Any further discussion? All in favor? And for the record, all opposed with a like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously. And it is now time for everybody's favorite motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to go home.
Do we have a second?
Second.
It is 8:09 PM. The meeting is adjourned.